All right, calling to order the committee of the whole meeting for Tuesday, March 4th, 2024. I can have a roll call.
Babcock.
Here.
Malco.
Here.
Petty. Here. Block.
Here.
Sima.
Here.
Wright.
Here.
Gustafson. Here.
Thank you. Quorum. Item actually note the time is 6:59 p.m. Item number 1 is approval of the minutes for the meeting of the committee of the whole from February 18th, 2025. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion, changes, corrections? If I have a roll call, please.
Babcock.
Yes.
Malco.
Yes.
Petty. Yes. Sima. Wright.
Yes.
Block.
Yes.
Next item is public comments. Is there anybody wishing to speak for public comments at this time? You will have a time at the end as well. I don't see anybody online, and I don't know if there's anybody in the audience. You can maybe just let me know.
This is your opportunity, John.
We'll have time in the end again if we need to have more public comment. There's no old business. Item number 2, discussion and recommendation of an agreement with the ATF for NIBIN Enforcement Support System, NESS. I will turn it over to Chief Hawley to discuss this item.
I'll limit these to 15 minutes each. So the first one you have is the NIBIN Enforcement Support System, which makes up the NESS. This is through the ATF. We currently use the NESS system now. NIBIN is simply the National Integrated Ballistics Information Network. And NESS is part of that system, and it's a system that we use. It's an online system, national database. It hits leads linking ballistic evidence between crime scenes and firearms recovered by law enforcement. So like stolen weapons, if those weapons are being used during a crime somewhere else, picks it up. It's a national database to run it through. It's through the ATF. All of this simply is a updated user agreement, so we can continue to use the NESS system. Questions? We currently have it. It's no cost. So. The second one is the subscription agreement for Leads Online. We currently use Leads Online. The Leads Online is a database that we can run items through that were stolen, and if they hit any of the system for any pawn shops, anytime items are sold at pawn shop, this is the system we go to that runs them all. Currently, we are on the lowest version. That's all we needed. It's the lowest version. They're discontinuing that version and upscaling it. Some of the things that we're going to get extra by keeping the cheapest version, but it does cost $1,200, is instead of just running through Illinois, we can run it through the entire United States. All systems for pawn shops in the United States. It also does many more investigatory tools that I will not speak of in the open public right now. The cost of the system, currently what we pay for is $2,411. That is going up to $2,666 for this year, $2,745 to 26, and $2,828 in 2027. So the difference this year is approximately $255. I do have budgeted the $2,411 originally in my budget. That additional $255, I'm actually going to be pulling out of that line item with my additional anticipated expenses. But it's all coming out of that. Beautiful. So we currently have it. It's a great tool, great investigatory for stolen goods. Any questions?
So therefore you need a recommendation to the board to
For
approve.
agreements and to both
Both of
of these
those.
contracts, yes.
So item 2 is a motion to approve an agreement with the ATF for the NIBIN enforcement system. Do you have a motion to recommend that to the board for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Malco.
Yes.
Babcock.
Yes.
Petty. Yes. Sima.
Yes.
Block.
Yes.
Wright.
Yes.
All right, item number 3, again, is discussion, we need a motion to recommend for approval to the board in agreement with Leads Online in the amount of $2,666.
So moved. Sorry.
Just
Roll roll
just a
call? Thank you.
question. Was it a
Sure.
3-year agreement, right?
The
With,
leads online. yes.
Yeah, slight escalation each year in the cost,
Yeah, and that will take us
Through
through
2027.
2027. Yes.
ending amount $2,828.
Correct.
Petty,
Yes.
Swam,
Yes.
Sima,
Yes.
Babcock,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Malco.
Yes.
Thank you. Item number 4, discussion recommendation of an agreement with State Line Fast Pitch Softball Inc. related to the use of the village's Swanson Park. Attorney Green is here. He can speak to that matter.
Thank you, Joe. I met with Dennis McKinney on several occasions. I think I went into this with the direction from administration and through some meetings with Trustee Wright to try and tighten up the agreement, tighten up the licensee identification as only being the not-for-profit, increasing the use fee, and getting more of a robust financial picture of what was happening with the park annually. I had a significant, a bit of a chore to keep Mr. McKinney from wanting to go back in the past and talk about what happened before. And I said, I mean, I appreciate that we're here today because of what's happened in the past, but I want to talk about the future. I want to talk about what's next. I want to talk about how we can clean this agreement up and make it more comfortable for the board. At some level, I'll ask you all to do the same. I mean, there are concerns about what happened in the past, but the idea here was to create an agreement that tightened things up and allowed us to move forward. So State Line Fast Pitch Softball Inc. NFP is the exclusive operator of the park. All funds will run through that not-for-profit organization to them and out from them. That's the obligation within the agreement. The use fee has been increased to $7,500. The annual renewal process, it appeared to me, had become kind of loose, and it was unclear whether when they were renewing in August for last year, or were they paying, I've tightened that up. We're basically going to send them a notice, it's time to renew by this date, or it won't be renewed. And assuming they do and it's approved, then we move forward. And then come January, we'll send them a bill as opposed to just waiting for them to pay. We'll send them, it does put a little work on us, but the concept is we send them a bill, they pay the bill, and we'll move forward from there. The annual reporting calls for them to provide consolidated balance sheets and a recap and detailed income and expense statement from the licensee's account, so that is directly from their account, as opposed to previously where we got their IRS 990s or their charitable organization annual report, which was very general, just had totals and it really didn't give any detail whatsoever. So we should be able to track the income and expenses on all of those. I did the red line. I sent the red lines out to all of you, the red line and the clean. I sent those to Mr. McKinney. He indicated he was going to send it to an attorney. I think the attorney had a child who might be in the program and was providing some assistance to him. In the end, they didn't make any comment back whatsoever. And I have agreed to all of these changes. So I do think this agreement moving forward is worth, well, it's totally your call, but I think we've tightened it up and can see how this will operate in the future and see if it can't be operated at a little bit better level. Now, I will have one caveat. He did talk a little bit about some items that need to be addressed, and I did, and it was a list of like 6, but I have kind of narrowed that down to one that the State Line Fast Pitch would like to see addressed this season as early as possible, and that's simply the light. In the past, he indicated that the lighting, he was handcuffed a little bit by being required to use certain vendors and so forth, and not being allowed to get some, even though they'd be qualified electrical contractors who might donate their time or their work because they have people in the program or whatever, and that's kind of the idea. He said he does have that available to him and would significantly reduce the cost. Under the agreement, he changes the lights, we fix the ballast. I mean, in the simplest terms, he changes the light bulbs, we fix the ballast if they need to be fixed. Joe and I will talk with him about, who do you have that can come out and get a bucket truck out there and see, there's like 22 bulbs and they're like $100 a piece, something like that. So it's not it's expensive, but it's not over the top expensive. So I think we can work with him to get the lights dealt with at a relatively minimal expense. But it's in the agreement in that it's his responsibility for the bulbs, it's our responsibility, it's state line's responsibility for the bulbs, it's our responsibility for the ballast. Exactly how that'll get done, from my standpoint, the administration should put that on him, and let's just, if there are ballast issues, we'll find out when somebody gets up there and checks out the filters. There were 5 other items on here. The commitment, let's see, within the commitment, the discussion we had was that those items would be addressed over the next couple of years, basically allowing the village to plan for any repairs that might need to be done to things that belong to us. I mean, a building with a rotting floor is probably our responsibility because it's our building. Like any landlord tenant, and it's not quite a landlord tenant, but and we will deal with that. I mean, a thing like the gates aren't working properly, I would envision public works to just go up there and fix the way the gate locks. But anyway, they've indicated that if this agreement moves to the board, they'll sign it, and then we'll move forward with the new agreement.
Does part of this audit include the gate fees?
Well, certainly income and expense. I mean, we would
Would fall
identify
under.
the income. I know Trustee Petty was concerned about in a
Lead.
prior meeting, the fees that were being charged. This does not regulate. I mean, he charges $3 for
Adults,
adults, for attendance of games.
$1.50 for children.
Yeah, I haven't, I mean, I don't, my opinion is that we shouldn't try to micromanage that within this agreement. Obviously, they need income to pay to mow the lawns and pay for their equipment and operate the park and pay for refs and all of that. Some events they have are no fee. I mean, Hononegah will frankly, Hononegah will start using the park like next week. And I don't think there's any fees associated with anything that goes on with that. The leagues start, I don't remember, do you have it there, Mike? The leagues start like in May or
No,
the non-high school starts later.
Middle.
And then that'll run that. Obviously, the playground park is open all the time. There's no,
yeah, you get in there.
yeah, there's no problem.
I'm just, if we're gonna, in all intents and purposes, hold them to, an accountant giving us this, could they break that out so we know where they're making their money? Concession stand.
Question. So have they in the past, as a non-for-profit, have they filed with the state, have the financial transparency and public disclosure requirements, have they met them in the past with the state? What's required from the state?
Joe did provide me with copies of their 990s and their charitable
So that's
report.
available for public consumption on the state rate, and we'll continue to do that.
It's not very robust though. It doesn't really show you. I mean, it shows you totals, doesn't show you breakdowns.
I mean, if that's what the state requires, right? So
I was looking to get from him and I think he's agreed to give something a little more detailed. Okay. So, I mean, if it's totally your call, this is where we are. I think he is now anxious because we are in March and the County Eagle will start using the park come next week to practice.
So those other items are not a term of agreement, those are sort of
There, all of this is in the agreement in that we have an obligation to maintain the park in a, maintain the capital, you know, just like any landlord needs to maintain the building. If the roof leaks, the landlord fixes it, not the tenant. Those such things. The scoreboard, I have no idea how much that would cost to fix. It's our scoreboard. If, you know, we could get a price on that and it's reasonable. He says that hasn't worked for a couple, 2 or 3 years. Well, it says 5.
Has anyone mentioned that?
No,
There we go.
I'm new to this. He says it hasn't worked for 3 years.
Okay, that's my point.
I said, how do you keep score? He said, well, flip card.
Yeah, somebody.
A lot of people don't have scoreboards. We keep score.
What about them changing the light bulbs? Is there liability on it? If somebody falls out of a bucket truck changing a light bulb? Does that go on to the village? I mean,
Well, we would want to have, I mean, we wouldn't want to have amateurs out there. If he's going to get volunteer labor, it's got to be somebody who has a license to do it. They would be licensed and have insurance and so forth. We own the park. If somebody falls and breaks their neck, I mean, he's gonna get sued, we're gonna get sued, everybody's gonna get sued, but I think it would be defendable. We're doing what we need to do.
Internally, who's gonna keep track of all this? Like, the health department, Winnebago County Health Department, the concession stand. Like the not-for-profit status, sending the invoices. You indicated 7,500, but in installments.
He's asked that, and it hasn't necessarily been for all years going forward, but this year we're getting started late. He asked it, and it's been increased. He did want to do installments. The mayor and I spoke briefly about perhaps half down, half a month.
That's not what I'm asking internally.
Who's gonna, you are, I mean, we are.
Who's we?
Currently Janelle does all permitting and she gets the documents and saves those every year.
Now, that's just the notice to renew,
Mhm.
the bill to pay, and then how it's paid. His,
Yep.
you don't monitor necessarily his NFP, not-for-profit LLC. He's got to file his annual reports with the
Himself.
state. That's easy to check on. That's easy to make sure he's still an LLC, not-for-profit. It's a website you can go to. I go to it every day almost. But we don't have to do anything relative to that.
Can we have installment dates on the agreement?
We didn't put that in here. I mean, the agreement says, you know, $7,500 on March 31st. This would be an accommodation. We do it in like a letter agreement.
And proof of liability insurance.
Yeah, he has to maintain $1 million.
Right.
It's-
Right.
Yes, he needs to name us as an additional insured. I assume we've had that in the past.
Yeah, we get all that from him. They submit that to us each year in the
Yeah,
spring.
certificates of insurance are typical way to do that.
So this would be, Janelle, who's keeping track of all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And then none of that part is new. The detail level is new, but we've always required them to provide the documents.
What type of installments is he asking? Like 2, 3?
wouldn't it be up to you to make a decision?
I'd like to know what he asked for. He said installment.
He said initially 2,500 down and 2 payments like 30 days apart of the other 2,500s. The mayor and I spoke previously on this. It was, why don't we get half down and half a month kind of a thing, just to give him a break on this year. I don't know that we need to do that every year, but it has jumped up from, it's more than doubled in terms of what they normally.
And you know, club play won't be happening then.
I don't know what you mean by that. I don't.
It's simply a not-for-profit, no clubs.
Oh, no, the not-for-profit would host tournaments. There would be for-profit clubs showing up to those tournaments. They're gonna, I mean, the not-for-profit runs state line fast pitching, but they'll organize tournaments that will bring people in from, just like they did before. And there'll be no guarantee that, there's no need to guarantee that all of them, they don't all have to run the way state line fast pitch runs. It's, you know, different regions, different states have, you know, run their programs differently. the clubs that come aren't all gonna necessarily be not-for-profit. That's not a necessity.
So in principle, do you accept the terms? Yes,
I think that we really should note that next year expect payment will not the.
on the 31st.
Not the,
Gives them a year to plan.
yeah,
And for this year, how many installments? Again, something I think before the season starts, and then something before the season concludes.
it should be paid. 60.
Yes.
Oh, I mean, I had
Yes.
anticipated.
Maybe even
You know, generously 25 down, 25 a month, 25 a month, and you get it done in 90 days. Or half down and half, or
That's
half in
not,
60 days, something like that. And I can go back to
You know,
him. Well, I'm leaving town for a couple of days, but I'll be back on Monday. And frankly, I will get back to him before I leave or while I'm leaving, to let him know what's going on.
That's terrible.
But 3,
25 down, 25, 90 days. From there on, it's up payment for one.
the 31st, before the 31st March,
when does the season conclude usually?
probably end of September, doesn't it?
Yeah, I know he said they need the lights, especially in the fall when the time change. When is the time change? Does this
Okay.
play all the way into the time change?
Oh,
Anyway,
yeah.
yeah. It's important to the lighting, so they go pretty late.
So I thought. I'd also suggest if he has something wrong with the park, that he alerts somebody.
In the past, we have asked that they do that. And so that it can be
Not 3 years
planned,
later.
so it can be planned. you know,
Yeah, I mean,
before
this
the
this
season.
process, and I think you guys got this process has generated this bullet point itemization. This likely is all of it, and gates are easy.
Mhm.
I don't know about scoreboard, but dugout drain.
Can you let them know that we start our budget process in September, and we would like to know if any improvements or things we need to fix for that, so we can properly budget. Perfect.
That's
We used to
great.
request that they came in and told us that stuff so we could budget for it. And did we get that list?
Yes,
I think it went out in the email, yeah.
Yeah. I know we've
Um,
done dugout drainage.
Joe sent it out with an email explaining, and then it was an attachment.
Okay. Yeah, that dugout's been a long time for that too.
Well, we had repaired it once.
Do we make that a part of this agreement that they tell us? You just-
I we just informally
I
asked
think
them
we
to
can
speak with
just ask them.
Yes.
I mean, we'll
Otherwise,
document,
we'll have to wait till the next year to get some.
we'll document it.
I think in the past, they've worked with Troy when they needed something. They do have a good, their maintenance department has a good relationship with Troy. For the bigger ones, I guess these are bigger ones that they've been holding on to, but for the day-to-day things, generally they let him know that to work on those.
I'll make a motion that we send this. to the board.
Reed, yes, Falco,
Yes.
Babcock,
Yes.
Block,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes,
Ima.
Yes.
And number 5, discussion recommendation of a special event permit for VFW Post 2955 Memorial Day Parade. Event to be held May 26, 2025. Chief Holly, do you want to go over this?
Well, he's away,
Or-
but
Oh,
the
sorry,
route,
Sarah, something.
the documents, the route is the same as last year. And Ribbon had put on it, the start time at 9 o'clock. Chief Holly, the
Yes.
parade or walk to the cemetery that we're speaking about. Road closure beginning at 9, is that what's?
I believe it was, yeah.
But that's what was on the application. And Mike, how many people?
we've added, our next meeting is Friday. Troy will be coming to that meeting also, and there, we had about a 45-minute meeting. They've already put out their flyer for participants. I've spoke with the National Guard Armory. We're gonna if everything's okay at that point in time and they're not busy doing something, we've got a couple trucks coming over this year. Actual military vehicles, that'll be cool. So yes, we are adding to we don't want to make it too big, for, road closure purposes. But we're gonna add to that. We've got two and they're well out in advance. The woman's name, I'm sorry, it escapes me. She's on it this time around. It's not gonna be.
Ruben, when I
We're gonna have it
asked,
done.
yes.
The
He
new commanders-
appreciates you organizing it for him.
Yeah, and Bill was there, the new commander, so we had a really good meeting with them and they kind of get it this year. They're working well so far, and we'll know more Friday as to how many they've acquired, but we don't want to add too many, like I said, just for the amount of space we want shut down.
The cutoff time for signups you had told him was the end of
We
April.
moved up at April, I don't know, about count 30, 31, 30.
Yeah.
End of it, yeah. Yep, we moved that up to get it all clean and squared away.
And who in the organization is taking charge of marketing where these?
Again, her.
Okay,
Man,
the parade marshal.
Sorry, yeah, I can't remember her name. Sorry, my bad. My
We'll just call
apologies.
her the major.
Yeah, she's on it. She's,
All right.
Good.
Thank you. All right,
Motion to send to the board.
second,
Petty,
Yes.
Wright,
yes.
Sima,
Yes.
Hawk,
Yes.
Malaco,
Yes.
Babcock.
Yes.
Joe,
Thank you.
may I
Item number,
Joe, just one second, please. May I reiterate for people here? You all got the email that no one has stepped up yet to volunteer to organize the Chicory Ridge garage sale. So I don't know if there will be an annual sale.
There
Yeah,
would
this-
be, there's a group that reached out to me.
Well, would you ask them to come in and begin the conversation
They
and
have
get a
plenty of
permit?
time.
60 days. They
Yeah,
have 60
well,
days.
technically they have 30 per ordinance.
Well, they have 60 days for this large scale thing. Sooner the
I don't-
better.
I don't
It's a
know why
big
it's
thing
different for them.
because it's a large scale event and we have the 60-day. So
Well,
get
under
them.
the ordinance, it
Well,
says
get
30
them in.
days, but they will bring it in before 60 days, but I
Okay,
want you to
great.
know what the ordinance is.
Well, thank
okay?
you very much. But it always takes a lot of work and effort for this.
I've
So we'll
already
get
reached
to
out
it.
to Chief Polly.
Well, thank
We're
you.
working with them. It'll be fun.
Thank you.
Well, also, we probably should have covered that issue, come up with their old business or new business, not right in the middle of the roll call.
Thank you. It's so nice that everyone keeps me on my toes. So kind. I
Be
just
disrespectful,
You can
we'll
be
keep.
respectful.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So can you. It works both
I
ways.
was very
Yeah,
respectful.
right. Let's go.
I never said that. You're on the record.
item number 6, discussion and recommendation of the solicitation and proposals for development of the village-owned property located at 11243 Main Street. We have David Sidney from Place Foundry here to speak to this item.
Thank you, Joe.
David?
Joe emailed a copy for you. I outlined, basically just wanted to make sure we were moving in the right direction before we finalize the packet that will be before you at the March 18th meeting. As I outlined, really what you're seeing is how we will structure the RFP in terms of the sections to make sure that we get a consistent response from anyone that wants to bid or put in a proposal for this property. The packet will contain standard property information, just some comprehensive design guidelines and development parameters, some submission requirements, demonstration of financial capacity, and then how their proposals will be scored. And so that and then some exhibits. All these things will align with the Main Street District Plan that we have prepared. Each of the sections with, I guess, because you've had it before tonight's meeting, I don't want to take up too much time. If you have specific questions on any of the sections that you see, happy to answer that today or tonight. Otherwise, I'll go through each section, but I would just say, was there any immediate questions or just feedback on what you saw?
I have a question. If we have two local developers today, tomorrow, yesterday, that are ready to move, how do we address that?
Well,
Do we have to wait till July?
the timeline here, so the timeline that we put in is based on giving, so those individuals would be able to submit as soon as this goes to the street. And it's 60 days is a reasonable timeline for someone to put together a response. So if there are folks that are very interested, that's really good. But for us to have a fair process to give folks the time to put together their concept and to demonstrate sources and uses, that's how we landed on the 60 days, which is what I presented to you the last time.
Yeah, I thought that was a little bit earlier that we would get started. So essentially, the middle of the building season, I mean, realistically, we're not looking at any construction on those this year. Just wonder.
I mean, I think the timeline for you to go through the review, to get the approvals for them to then move forward with design, engineering, all of that, it would still, the likelihood that they, everyone can move at a speed, but you would probably, I would say, still run into the chance that you wouldn't actually break ground until spring of next year, but those.
Unless we got started tomorrow.
So you have the outline of the process and what would be the elements for making a decision based on those firms, companies, developers that submit their concept and their plans and a criteria for selection. You look at the last page after the selection is made. That choice or that decision may be made June, July, depending upon how much work has to be done. It may be groundbreaking in the fall.
Yeah, and that's the timeline, especially once you get back to President, when you get to receiving those proposals, depending on how many you get and what you're evaluating. If you receive one and that one is meeting what you want to see happen on that site, with the review process, it could be advanced much sooner than to the fuller board. So again, this timeline was meant to build in enough time around decision-making, the timelines to get to the board for approval. So just trying to factor in extra time. But again, if you were to, depending on how many submissions, and if you get 5 submissions, then that takes more time to evaluate. So we're trying to strike a balance there, which is why you're seeing the June, July.
Fine. That's.
So is there then a recommendation to send it to the board for approval to disseminate this? And
Yeah, well, this will include sign, right? Sign on the property, right? We're gonna have a sign out there on that property. Joe?
Making sure I'm not muted yet. Yeah, we can, as soon as we get this there, we can put a sign that says contact the village for proposals. We can have a QR code, or not for proposals, but for the RFP. A QR code on it, you can scan it, get information, call the village, it'll be available.
And then will it be available on the website? How?
Yeah.
All right, so.
It'll be available on our website. I imagine we want to probably I'm going to advertise in the paper somewhere, get them out to many developers as possible. If there's developers, we know, I guess, a couple, right? We know at least two already who want copies of it. If, we know other developers who are interested in developing the property, absolutely send it to them as well. We'll get those names. Let us know.
Any other way it's advertised, David? Any other way that communities get out these types of proposals? Any other avenue of communication?
Yeah, you can post to, within the real estate community, in the planning association, depending on how wide you want to go out in terms of publication for local, regional, national reach. I think though you'll be fine with posting to your website using your communication channels, and then I would encourage you through social media as well. We have found that actually can it's just more of the awareness. It's less about a developer's not going to be, oh, I think I want to go after it. It puts some awareness there.
So, follow up, then in 2 weeks, you'll have the specific language of this proposal. for the
Yes.
board To approve.
Yes, I just need to make sure we're moving in the right direction. What the village wanted.
Do we need another committee of the whole meeting to bring up any other further properties? Does that need to be another meeting?
Properties for this.
Are-
If there are any other properties in the near future,
Oh,
we have to open up a new issue, a new discussion, a new business on another committee of the whole meeting.
or go into executive session to discuss a particular one.
Correct?
I guess we could do
The
that.
purchase properties you're talking about,
No, sir.
or sell properties?
To do an RFP.
Oh, for a second property?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, to sell another property?
Me on a second?
Certainly.
We just purchased.
Correct.
Joe. Yes, Joe, for the one we purchased.
Oh, the one where, well, we haven't
the
purchased it yet,
Liberty-
but for Bridge for
Liberty
Liberty?
Yeah.
Yes. I didn't know, since it said the exact address, do we have to go to another committee of the whole meeting to bring that new address up?
We don't actually own that property yet, but once we do,
Very good.
if we're, I guess I suppose it's something good
Once
to
it's
tell
official.
Attorney Green right now. If you're planning on selling that property, just make sure that we're able to in our agreement.
Okay. I'll wait till it's official.
Okay, so we have, oh, we need a motion then for number 6.
Make a motion to send it to the board.
I'll second it. Get it going.
And then David, do you need anything else from the board? Do you need anything clarified, anything additional, or are you set with it?
And based on what was discussed tonight, we can proceed.
Okay, roll call.
Right,
Yes.
Sima,
Yes.
Babcock,
Yes.
Petty, yes, Malaco.
Yes.
Swam.
Yes.
And then, David, very briefly on the 13th, can you just give an overview of what the 1 hour meeting will look like?
Yes, so on March 13th, we will host an overview session of the Business District Alliance, the 501c3 for Main Street. Thank you, Trustee Wright, for helping to organize that meeting, and invitations went out. But the goal is that everybody understands, the Main Street District Plan was developed, we're moving forward. This is the next key piece to execution of 501c3, and we wanted to ask business owners, community stakeholders, business leaders to join this 501c3 to help get it started and going, to be able to execute the work ahead. So we're going to walk through an overview on that, and then a call to action asking people to step up to join the organization.
If there's anyone else, I'm thinking Jim Packard. I didn't put him on the list. Can we
Personal-
invite?
Certainly,
Okay.
personal invitation.
Okay, I'll do that. He wants to
Should be good.
to be there.
And anyone else? We may have to do some follow-up calls this week. We'll see, you know, who
I'll help.
responds by such and such a
Yeah, I can make calls.
time period. No, I think we're done.
All right, any additional public comment in the
Um,
audience?
I'd like,
Oh.
I wanted Justin to be able to talk about the Chicory Ridge thing. I think it's appropriate to talk about it now, so if you know. If you've already talked to people and I just want to get a better understanding that you have a handle for the Chicory Ridge stuff.
Yeah, so they reached out to me, they asked what would better serve the village going forward. We just had some brief discussion. It's a group of people now, it's not just one individual. They're playing with a couple dates, but they will have their paperwork turned in within 60 days prior.
And direct them to speak with Janelle. She
I sent
facilitates.
them the forms over, I said to who to send them to, and all that, so. We can probably hear more of the date, once they finalize it, I'll update everyone, but you'll probably know before we have the next meeting.
Thank you.
Anybody, anything else? Otherwise, I guess public comment, sounds like there's nobody there, for public comment. Presentations, none. Closed session, don't believe anyone's necessary. Motion to adjourn, we're ready for that.
Second.
A motion to adjourn second, have a, I guess, a roll call, that's fine.
Pepper,
Yes.
Taco,
Yes.
Betty, yes.
Yes.
Emma,
Yeah.
right.
Yes.
We are adjourned, 7:41 PM, everybody have a good evening. I will see you later on, thank you.